Welcome to another edition of Beer for Breakfast ABV.
Yeah.
And we are on location once again. We are at Cellar 3 in Poway, and we are joined by Barrel Master Pat Korn. Yeah.
Hi. Welcome. Thank you for showing up.
Thank you for
having us.
Yeah.
Thank you for inviting us in today. Appreciate it.
Yeah.
And your former colleague, Paul Segura.
Yeah. Many years ago, we worked at good old, hey, Carl Strauss. Let's hear for Carl Strauss. Yeah.
Now, how long did you guys work together?
A couple years. Yeah. I think I worked there about 7.5 years. And then I was fired. But I think Paul and I probably
That sounds
worked
like
for.
radio. That's so strange how that works.
I didn't fire him.
No.
It wasn't me.
We won't talk about who fired me.
All right.
But yeah, we worked together for a couple years, and
had fun.
Eric Jensen, our brewmaster for Green Flash, also worked. We all worked together. Mr. Chuck Silva, who used to be our brewmaster here at Green Flash, who's now up in Paso Robles, also worked there. So, yeah, there's a long line of old
Strauss
brewers.
people that have gone on to do other great things.
Yeah.
It's like the Padres. You know, these people have gone on to do other things.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, I like to think of myself as the Anthony Rizzo of Carl Strauss. So,
And would you please welcome the newest member of the Pink Boot Society? I'm going to use that forever.
Yeah.
Producer Danielle, everyone, joining us.
Pink Boots.
Yeah.
June 2nd.
Yeah. All right, so we're going to try 3 beers.
Yes, sir.
And the first one we're going to try is the Brett Coast IPA.
Yeah, so this is a beer that we made for Beer to the Rescue, which is a fundraiser for the Lupus Foundation that Brandon Hernandez has put on for the last few years. My mother
Cheers,
cheers to you, Brandon. It's really near and dear to my heart. My mom has had lupus since before I was even born, so I've had it in my life since day one. So when Brandon approached me, we said yes. We decided to kind of harken back to our Vista roots. We used to make a beer, we still make a beer, called West Coast. It is now a double IPA, and we reformulated the recipe a few years ago. So we took the original recipe and went ahead and fermented it out with our house Brettanomyces strain that we've isolated from the very first barrel we ever used, and just kind of used the Vista techniques we used to use up there. It was dry hopped with fresh Simcoe hops, which is something we used to do up there, and just a 7%. West Coast IPA, dry hop with Centennial, Cascade, Simcoe, and Amarillo, and then we add a little bit of whole hop Simcoe into the tank and fermented out with a house Brett. So it has a very piney floral, very typical West Coast IPA flavor to it, but the house Brett that we use gives it kind of a little bit of a seashell, kind of medicinal horse blanket kind of salinity. So.
Well, cheers.
Yeah.
Cheers.
Cheers.
It's delicious.
Yeah.
Thank you.
It's got a huge hop nose.
Now, when you say up there, you mean Vista, the original location?
The
for
original
Green Flash.
Vista, yeah, the original brewery in Vista that we moved out of, I think, in 2011.
Now, what is the relationship with Cellar 3 to Green Flash?
So Cellar 3 is our off-site barrel house. I am an employee of Green Flash. We do all of our barrel aging here, Green Flash, Cellar 3. And we also package the barrel-aged beers for Alpine Beer Company, which is our sister brewery.
Right.
Great brewery. Shout out to Sean and the crew at Alpine. Love you guys.
Yep.
So yeah, we've been here. We've had a barrel program at Green Flash for many years before I came on the scene. I worked for Green Flash for about 6.5 years. I took over the barrel program about 5 years ago. Came up with the idea of having an off-site barrel house. We're doing all wild yeast and sour beers over here. So we're using different kinds of Brettanomyces. We're using Pediococcus. We're using Lactobacillus. A lot of stuff you do not want in your facility if you're making regular non-funk, non-sour beers. So we came up with the idea. And I was lucky enough that Mike Hinckley, the owner, just kind of let me run with it, and we found the building, and I built this out, and this is my office. So
It's cool walking around in the back here and seeing all the barrels and seeing everything aging, everything's dated.
Yeah,
You know?
it's when you walk in, there's just that smell. You know, there's just that just that kind of beer and wood and just a lot of funk kind of going on. So, yeah, we've been here for about, it'll be 2 years this month.
Wow.
And yeah, so.
This must be a terrible place to work.
It is really horrible. It's really horrible. No, I to be honest, I think I probably had the best brewing job in San Diego. I've been brewing, obviously, you know, the same amount of time as Paul has been doing. Worked at some other places. It's really, for me, a joy to come in every day and kind of be able to just kind of herd these barrels to where, you know, you eventually get this. And we're kind of, you know, we're in our infancy really as far as like barrel aging facilities go, but so far I think we've really come a long way.
Well, and so you were saying that when you have these different strains of yeast, you don't really want it where you're making beers that aren't sour. So is that a common problem that breweries will run into if they're making a sour, is that yeast will get in?
Absolutely, yeah, absolutely. And I have, you know, now that I've kind of been doing this for a while, I get a lot of newer breweries, let's say, and a lot of guys who want to come in and they want to make barrel-aged beers. And what I tell them is that if they are in a, you know, like most breweries here in town, you're kind of in this industrial area. And what I usually tell them is don't do it. Because it can really get out of hand very quickly. I mean, the one thing I always think about when I'm working here is that it can go wrong in a heartbeat, and you kind of have to accept that you can fail very easily, very quickly. We haven't done that yet. I don't plan to do that.
Knock on wood.
Knock on wood, yeah. But yeah, I mean, for me, it's, you know, I would tell them to not do it. But if they are going to do it, you know, you can go to Home Depot and get some plastic sheeting and just put it up in your corner and do it that way.
That's your sour corner.
Your sour corner, yeah. I mean,
Don't come in.
It's, you know, as long as you respect it, you control it. It's, you know, it's not that hard to not have it go bad. And at the same time, you know, there's wild yeast every single where you go, you know, so it's floating all around. So you just got to be kind of smart about it, you know.
Now, Paul, describe what Brettanomyces are.
Brettanomyces is in the yeast family, but it's a wild yeast. It's you know, it's, I don't know, like Pat said earlier, the horse blanket kind of smell, the sort of it takes a while to get used to. I think it's kind of an acquired taste for a lot of people. It's not the same as Pediococcus or Lactobacillus. Lactobacillus causes the really sort of tart cherry and tartness. There's a lot of different strains within Brettanomyces and Lactobacillus and all of that stuff, but it's, you know, it's basically just there's still a little bit of residual sugar in a lot of beers, especially double IPAs and big stouts and stuff like that, and there's always a little bit of sugar that these organisms can grab hold of and eat and
that becomes
create these awesome flavors.
Yeah, exactly. That's a really crucial component of these beers.
Yeah.
I felt like those like Mythbusters, like we needed to have like science moment or something for that.
Pat's, you know, he's not giving the whole story. It's like there's actually a big art form to what he does, matching up the right organisms with the right type of beer to end up with the right, you know, flavors and stuff in the finished beer, and using the right types of barrels, matching up the wood with everything else, and
Yeah,
you know,
yeah. It's, I mean, to be really truthful here, my job is to, my most important job here is to translate the flavor that I have in the glass. I mean, to me, it always goes back to there's a flavor in the glass that we want to make, or I want to make, and then you just got to kind of work your way backwards. So for me, my biggest thing is taking barrels that are all the same in theory, but are not the same. They're different, and each barrel will give you different flavors. You know, if it's a newer barrel, we don't use brand new barrels. We use barrels that, for the most part, are from wineries and Paso Robles where I know the winemakers. So we have about 6 wineries that we utilize barrels from, and that's not because obviously, I think that their wine is amazing. It just, for what we're doing, I really like the flavors that their barrels give me. And so if you're using a newer one, it's going to give you more vinous kind of qualities, more wine-like qualities. If it's an older one, you know, we have some barrels here that we've utilized for 10 years, you know, and it has a certain flavor. And for me, it's kind of going through and picking and choosing kind of what I want to blend together to get to what's in my head in the glass. So we utilize, like I said, we have a house Brett strain. It's we've isolated it from the very first barrel we ever used. It has very lemon, verbena, green apple flavor to it. We use Brettanomyces bruxellensis, which is what you would find in the Seine Valley in Belgium, super horse blankety. And we also have some puncheons that are larger format barrels that have random Brettanomyces in them that my winemaker friend pretty much can't use anymore. Winemakers hate Brettanomyces. You know, they that's, for them, getting Brett in their wine is an utter failure. So we've been lucky enough to get these. So they're all from different grapes, and they just probably brought the Brett in from the field. And when you taste, we make a beer called Dry Hop Fresco Sauvage. Each barrel has a different component to it, but if you taste through each one, you can taste a different kind of flavor, and it just comes directly from the wild yeast.
Well, and speaking of Sauvage, we're going to try the Vivid Sauvage.
Yeah.
Now, this is a Belgian-style IPA, and it's aged in
Red wine barrels, yeah. It's the
one?
base of this beer is a beer we make called L'Afrique, which is our Imperial Belgian IPA. We utilize both.
I'll pour.
We utilize a Trappist yeast and a California ale yeast, and then we go into our foeders here and inoculate with our house Brett, and then it goes into red wine barrels. And then this was also another one where I pulled down probably 90 barrels, and I think I used maybe 60 of them. And again, it was just kind of, you know, you try and take what the barrel gives you. I would say the most predictable part of this job is the unpredictability to it. So you're always just trying to, you know, get back to where.
So what happens to those 30 barrels that don't go into this particular blend? You fruit those in some instances, or they get dumped?
They're in back here. They're going to age some more. We'll make some more. It'll be a different vintage, and we're trying to take here some Belgian practices, some things we've learned from, you know, the Belgians. The Belgians are all about being able to choose the different vintages to blend down to make the flavor that they want to. And we've taken a lot of those practices, but we also kind of do our own San Diego Brewer, California kind of take on things. And, you know, also some things I've learned from other barrel guys that are out there. And just kind of, to be honest, it's kind of, we were slowly refining how we do things here, you know, by each time.
So in addition to getting the right barrel that had the right liquid before into the right style of beer and all of that, the blends itself are a huge part of the art form as well.
That's what I get paid for, I feel like, yeah.
Cheers.
I mean,
Well,
so
you've
cheers,
been doing a great job at it.
Thank you, yeah.
And you've got a lot of great cred out on the street with all these beers. Oh, man, I just
do it for the customer. So, yeah, so
Wow,
it has a
this
real
is phenomenal.
What trips me out about the beer is that there's still, like, after, you know, this is probably
Strong.
2 years altogether, from brew house to bottle. It's just how much hop character is retained by it. Still, every time I drink this, it just trips me out. Like, wow, there's like, it's still like, even in the aroma.
This has a nice fruitiness as well. Is that from the wine barrel?
I think it's a combination, definitely from the wine barrel, from the Brett, and then also just from the hopping too, coming out of the brew house. So that's another thing, kind of when I'm working, and I taste through. You know, these go through very different stages, and one thing you always have to kind of remember is that what you're tasting right now is not the final product. You know, it's the opposite of doing regular non-funk, non-sour beers. Once it gets to the bright tank, that's it. Like, it's only it's only going to go kind of downhill from there. I mean, for me, it's kind of you can taste a barrel, and 6 months later, it tastes exactly different.
Well, so I kind of have a question about
Yeah.
that, because a lot of times, we'll have these beers come in and Paul will say, oh, like, like you can lay this down for X amount of time and like it'll taste like great in like 6 months, a year. So your bottles, because you say that there's a certain taste that you want to them, like, do you want your beers consumed right then, or are you like, if you lay them down, they will change?
I'm of the opinion that when I release a beer, I think it's ready to go.
Okay.
That being said, I learned a lot of my kind of blending techniques from Lauren Salazar at New Belgium, who's been doing it for 20 years. And she would always tell me, like, put out the beer that you think it's ready, and if they choose to age it, then go ahead and age it. There's nothing wrong with it. There's nothing, it's not going to be bad, or it's not going to suck because the flavor has changed, So personally, I think the beer's ready to go, but yeah, I have a cellar. I lay beer down, and I enjoy the different flavors that develop after a couple years.
Are there ever times where you're like, oh, like I thought this one was ready to go, but like I should have let it wait longer because like you let it wait in your cellar?
Yes, but at the same time, it's been in my cellar for probably a year and a half.
Okay.
And we gotta keep the lights on. But for me personally, I'm striving to get to a point where we can have it get a little bit more flavor to it, or maybe let the bread develop. Or sometimes it's just like, no, it's perfect, it's ready to go. There have been times when I released beers that we just had to move on. We needed the barrels, or we just needed the space. So yeah, there are times when it's different. Yeah.
Must drive the salespeople and marketing people crazy, not knowing exactly when a beer is going to come available.
It's ready when it's ready.
Right, that's all you can tell.
It is something that I'm actually most proud of, that I'm able to kind of take. We're obviously a big brewery. We're big. We're in 50 states. We have a brewery on each coast. We're the 37th largest craft brewery in America out of 5,000. I'm just 1% of what we've released, but still, it's salespeople. They love the beer. They love being able to get it out there, and it's hard for me sometimes to tell them, hey, it's been cold this winter. Everything's behind by 3 months. And they've done our sales team and marketing has done a really great job of like finally accepting it and kind of listening to what I have to say. And it's, I don't want to say I know best, but I know best.
But Pat, how are we supposed to plan out our marketing plan
exactly,
3 months in advance if it's cold in San Diego?
You just do your TPS form in pencil. You just,
I noticed,
love you,
Pat,
sales marketing.
I noticed that a lot of the pieces of art around here are graced with your face. How did that
Very
happen?
sexy.
Yes, it's very interesting.
So we came up with really for the last 5 years we've done a lot of I guess you could call it beta testing. We have these ideas and we try these different things, and we'll try them in small barrel batches. Like I said, for the Vivid, I had 90 barrels to choose from. Most of these we're doing in anywhere from 2 to 6 wooden barrels. And there's just some that we've just found are just like so amazing. And there's some, to be honest, there's a lot that we went, cool, we're going to move on. And for the ones that we think are really amazing, we're doing a thing called the Barrel Master Reserve series. Very small, 600 bottle run. For instance, this was about 10,000 bottles that we bottled off. And they're just Barrel Master Reserve. They're things that I think are really special, unique. We did, the first one was in black ale in Old Forester barrels for 30 months. We added Muster coffee too. Beautiful beer. We did another one that was barley wine, 4 years in brandy barrels, 2 years in bourbon barrels. So that's 6 years. It was an amazing beer. And you know, we're making these kind of micro releases of things that we think are just kind of unique and special, and more than likely we won't make again, or we'll make in a smaller batch. So because of this, they decided to, for each release, they're coming up with a different painting for each bottle release. And they are...
I see King Henry, I see the Mona Lisa.
that one is... it's a somewhat famous painting.
Yeah.
People seem to love them.
I can see why. I like it.
You know, they're cool. It's a little weird to look at yourself, you know.
Well, he seems to be having a nice time in all of these paintings here.
Yeah.
So.
Very peaceful.
Yeah.
They look very peaceful.
Now, the last beer that we're going to try is the Cellar 3 second anniversary.
Yes, sir.
This is a black ale aged in bourbon barrels with Luxardo cherries.
Yes.
What are
I'm looking
Luxardo
forward
cherries?
to.
So Luxardo cherries are made in Italy. They come in a very sweet syrup that's made from the cherries. And they're the cherries that you find in, you know, if you go to like 7 Grand and you get a Manhattan, or if you go to any of these, you know, like Noble Experiment or something, you know, everyone uses Luxardo cherries because they're, you know, the best cherry you can get out there. And they are really amazing. They're really good. So we had this beer, which is, for us, it's called Double Stout. It's a black ale aged in Woodford Reserve barrels for about 26 months. We like to do a lot of extended aging for the black ale or the Imperial Stout, whichever term you want to use. And I just tried these barrels, and they just had a very cherry flavor to them. They had, I don't know if you remember, like the chocolate-covered cherry you get as a kid, you know, and it had like that, yeah, but it would have like that absolutely like disgusting fake cherry jello around it, you know, but it has that flavor to it. And so what we did is we just took the cherries, strained out the juice, macerated the cherries, put them in, and they're still aging right now. And then the juice was added, so it's about 13.5–14%.
It's got a huge cocoa nose as well, and then the cherry kind of follows it. So the aging process probably also gets a lot of the dark malts to become raisiny and date-like, which just adds to that sort of dark fruit.
Oh, wow.
And it's also the reason I like extended aging of bourbon barrel stouts or what have you. And there's nothing wrong with doing a shorter 6 months to a month. Is that you get this micro oxidation that has a certain flavor to it. That I don't really know how to quite put it into words for what I taste, but I kind of know it's a concentration, and a lot of people, you know, especially in like the regular beer, oxidation is just, no, that's like the worst thing you can do. You know, that's over at Mira Mesa, we spend so much time working on dissolved oxygen levels in our beer, and for me, it's like it's a flavor component, and so yeah, just by this being in the barrels for 26 months, you know, it goes from probably 8.8 to about 14. Wow. So
I think it tastes like unicorns.
unicorns?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Next time when you're like, I don't know what the word is for the taste, it's unicorns. Unicorn tears.
Unicorn, maybe that'll be the next one.
Oh, see?
Maybe that's third anniversary. Unicorn
Yes!
tears.
Well, here's to your second anniversary.
Thank you. Yeah,
and
thank you
unicorns.
guys. Yeah.
Congratulations.
2 years,
Yeah,
man.
2 years, man.
Yeah, nice job.
It's the paperclip anniversary, I think, or maybe pencil eraser
Just, like,
anniversary.
start throwing erasers
Yeah.
or...
I mean,
Exactly, so,
experimentation is such a crucial part of what you guys do here. That's what you do.
It's absolutely. And right now we still, like I said, we've kind of gone through our testing where we tried a lot of different barrels, a lot of different beers, and we're kind of circling back around, and we're trying to make more of less. So for me, I'm constantly experimenting, constantly trying new things, and it's my inspiration is from other breweries, food I eat, restaurants I go to, cocktails I have, wine I drink. Pretty much any of the funk or sour beers I make here, I want to taste like wine. So I'm trying to bring kind of this vinous wine quality to mix with beer to just kind of come up with, just different flavors. It's just I always just go back to it's just about the flavor. So yeah.
But that starts with your vision of what you want the flavor to be.
Yeah, absolutely.
Backwards
Yeah,
from that.
yeah. And I it's obviously I have pictures on the wall, and this is my baby. But there are, we have an incredible brewing team. Not only here in Mira Mesa, but also in Virginia Beach. The guys, Pat, Sean, and Brandon up at Alpine. So I use those guys to kind of bounce ideas off of, or they'll give me ideas. We do a Genius Lab every month where employees are allowed to make a beer on our pilot system with whatever beer they come up with. And so we did a Genius Lab for barrel aging beer. And it was the most submissions we ever got, which I thought was like really cool. And some of those submissions we didn't make the beer for that, but I've actually taken that and I've decided to make some.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So you've got like stacks and stacks and stacks of barrels back there.
Yeah.
Is there like a barrel that you're just like, come on, like I'm ready for you to like be aged and get like I'm so ready?
No. You would drive yourself crazy if you're like that. Probably like I said, like accepting there's some things if you really get into this on a larger scale that just become part of your day-to-day life. It's just part of your tenet is that things can go wrong at a second. You have no predictability. And you have to not only accept but embrace failure, and that's the barrel's going to tell you when it's ready. Like I said, my job is to blend. In the meantime, I just kind of babysit them and I herd them along to where we think that they're going to be ready. And it's a well thought out. I do have a plan. I do have spreadsheets. I have a schedule. We are a production facility. Like I said, we got to keep the lights on here. It ain't cheap in Poway, man. But that being said, there's times when you just have to let it go. So.
Well, it's pretty cool you get a place like this just in San Diego generally.
And this tasting room and the outside tasting area is awesome.
Oh yeah,
super comfortable. It's super cool hang here.
Well, Barrel Master Pat Korn, thanks for having us in today. Really appreciate it. Great visiting Cellar 3. And again, we tried the Bread Coast IPA. We also tried the Vivid Sauvage, and we just had the Cellar 3 second anniversary. Yes, Paul Segura, producer Danielle. One more time for Pat Korn.
Hey.
Thanks so much. Thanks for dialing in to 91X Beer for Breakfast ABV. Make sure you check out all the Beer for Breakfasts and Beer for Breakfast ABV episodes at 91x.com. We'll see you at the next one. Just go to the next one on the computer. We know you're not really working right now.